Becky, I've noticed, thanks. I noticed I'm just going to disregard the phases right now. Is that fine with you?
Yeah.
I just put those in there with a note that they were supposed to.
And could you screen share?
Yeah, just about to do that. And here we go.
So just for the people who are watching, this is Growth Marketing Leads. We're doing an offsite today, and we're beginning to explore the Q4 OKR candidate themes. This is going to be a more divergent, open conversation where we just get some introductions to the themes and give any high-level feedback or questions. There's going to be a process where our underlying team members are also going to help us bubble up other things that they think need to happen or flesh out the scope for some of these. So if you're watching this later and you're in the growth marketing team, just know that this is not a meeting where we're making any decisions about priority or what gets in or out. It's more just so we can all understand what's here. So as you're watching this, please watch with an open mind. And if something you care about is missing, that's cool. Just start an epic and we'll get it into the candidates for discussion. All right, Michael, take it away.
Okay, so for digital experience team as part of our growth marketing group, the theme that we're going to go after for Q4 is systemization and operationalization. Two tongue twisters. Maybe we'll come up with something easier. The output or the ROI or outcome that we are striving towards is to unlock our potential and put tools in place that allow us to do much, much more with the same amount that we currently have. So key things that we've identified that are crucial for us, step one, to make this happen. First off, design system and a pattern library. So quick definition of our teams, what we mean by design system. The design system is both the visual representation of a component. So think of a form field. It also has all the code behind it in a modular format. So unless those two things don't exist, this component doesn't exist. And the future we want to live into is until that component lives in code and is in our design system and then shows up on our web, or is in our design system, then it can show up on the website. So this is going to make those guidelines for other teams to know what tools we have in their toolkit and what we can easily implement. So what we're seeing regularly, for example, is teams will have a need, they'll design some page to achieve their goal, and they're using a whole bunch of net new components because they're not aware that there are consistent components. But if we had this tool set, we could say, okay, we get where this is going. And this thing that you're trying to do here, we actually have this component built already that we think is going to achieve your goal. Is it exactly what you thought it was? No, but it's built and it's effectively free for us to implement on the site. That's step one. The next step for us would be the CMS integration. We feel that we can do this at the same time, like in parallel. So integrating the CMS, we're going to focus on, to start with, the topic pages because they're net new. And this is going to allow teams to, in the future state, select from a set of templates and quickly create content, see previews, make sure they get it all right, and then put it. The great thing about Netlify is it integrates with GitLab and our build, the train. So that's the second thing we want to go after. Where are we here? The third, maybe it's at the bottom here, is Webpack build process. So this is the geekiest of all the stuff, but it's automating a whole bunch of processes that's going to make our code cleaner, faster load times, just automating away a whole bunch of human error opportunities. And we're actually, like, I probably shouldn't mention it, but because Lauren is so awesome, I will. Like, she's already got a V1 of this ready to go. So we're kind of way out ahead of this one because it's a must have. And then our fourth is just similarly to the process we went through with selecting the CMS, having a cross-functional activity where we identify options for a new static site generator. Let me just change that. Right now we're on Middleman. It is working fine, but it's kind of been optimized to the point where it's now going to be a roadblock. Reason being is in marketing, our experience is so much about what's being consumed, what's being seen. It's front end focused. Middleman is a Ruby static site generator, which is, I was going to say obviously, but maybe it's not obvious. Ruby is a server side language, and there are options that we can use like Nuxt and things that use Vue.js, so more server side, more browser side, which the benefit of that is we'll be able to integrate with a lot more modern technologies that align with our design system and allow us to create all of the surface level enhancements we want to do much faster. So, you know, stretch goal is we would decide and have an integration plan, but we're trying, these 4 things is an immense amount of work. So we're just saying we'd like to know by the end of this quarter which one we're going to go to and then implement it in Q1 of the next fiscal year. So operationalization and like systems kind of implementation is what we would like to go for.
All right, Michael, can I just ask I'll ask the same questions for each person just to keep us consistent. So can you talk about maybe 1 or 2 candidates for this quarter that you had to not include for Q4, just so people understand that maybe a couple things that were considered, but we just felt had to go later in order of operations?
Absolutely. I'm just going to pop over to the doc that we, the team and I kind of put together initially, you know, definitely leverage Luke's thinking on this. So things like the Smartly integration with the website, that's something that we're going to be aware of and support as much as we can, but it's not something that we feel is logical to take on until we have these foundational elements in place. Similarly, the dam, in our opinion, it makes less logical sense to put the digital asset management system in place before we have the content management system in place. Those are 2 things that kind of slip by the wayside for us. Cookie consent, again, we're going to support that. We're seeing, you know, Shane reported back the other day some really great improvements through the UX of that. And I think there's some small lift things we can do to keep incrementally moving it forward. So revisiting and doing something completely net new didn't make sense to us. But overall, just through this last quarter, these came together quite easily because they were themes of items that were really holding us back. And we want to be able to say yes to everyone. And without this automation and the systems in place, the only way we can reach the goals that we have set is adding more people to the team, but laddering up into Todd's strategy, which is we want to hit our ACV increase while not increasing spend on marketing. That spoke to us as we really have to make our focus efficiencies.
Awesome, that's really helpful. And then my only other question, and it may be obvious to some listeners, but I think it's worth saying explicitly, is how does this set of things you've chosen support our goals for website traffic, MQLs, and conversion rates improving in Q4?
Right. Yeah, we will be able to service everybody else's OKRs so much more quickly. So we'll be able to, our production throughput and obviously output is going to be increased. Our goal is that we're not going to be doing any like big bang releases. Like the design system, for example, our current vision is we start with something like buttons and we align on the buttons, that rolls right through, and then we put that on the site. So we will be seeing incremental real additions to the site, and it will be a facelift the entire time. So not only will we come out the other side with a complete design system, we'll see a refresh in the brand, which is going to make things more consistent. And our belief is that that brand consistency is going to give people more trust and belief in what we're telling people we can offer them, which is going to hopefully drive those results. So it's that, and also just being able to move faster.
Great, thank you. So those are the only 2 questions I'm planning to ask, and I think in just a moment we'll move on to the next person. Just, I know we could do endless Q&A, but for now, for the sake of time. But is there anything else you want to say about your Q4 plan, Michael, that you just want other people to know if they're watching this video from our team or in marketing?
Well, we have a increase in people at our disposal. We have 5 contractors that are joining from basically, Tina joined yesterday, and we have a few more staggered up until the end of Q4. So we have an increase in people to help execute and deliver this. And while we still have some capacity to continue servicing our cross-functional partners in the way that we have. So if you're looking at this and thinking, oh my gosh, I had a bunch of stuff I wanted to get done for Q4, and I wanted to talk to the digital experience team, it looks like they're too busy. We are very busy, but we always have time to connect, and we really like getting creative and finding MVC ways to deliver results cross-functionally.
Awesome, thanks so much, Michael.
No problem.
I'm wondering, Erica, if you'd be up for going next.
Sure, I can go next. Let's see here. Where am I? Okay. So mine made it into here a little bit differently than I was planning, but I think I can work with this. So basically I grouped our OKRs into some themes by team. So I'll start with the content marketing one. The first one, deliver 1 complete use case video package. This is something new that we want to do, tying in our digital production strategy with our content marketing strategy. So essentially, Erica Flowers and Brock are going to be determining what does a video package include for each of our use cases. It's probably a long demo, a short demo. What features do we want to cover in that use case? Ads that can be repurposed to speak to that use case. Video for our topic page. They're going to kind of figure that out and then go create all of that content for one use case. And so this is also hopefully going to help other people self-serve videos for events or campaigns and things like that. The second one on here, deliver 3 completed awareness to conversion content journeys. This is a continuation of what we started this quarter. So the team is going to continue to create topic pages and web articles, but in Q4, we're going to be really focused on the conversion journey, and we're going to do an audit of Path Factory and kind of refigure what the different paths look like, where they go on the website, and then how that ties into further down the funnel into conversion and purchase parts of the buyer's journey. Part of this is going to be storyboarding with the product marketing team to make sure, and refiguring any content we need to make sure we're telling a cohesive story across the end-to-end journey. And then this last one, increase organic entrances to keyword topic pages by 40%. This is, Shane actually put this OKR together, and I'm going to let him speak more to it when he has his turn. We're going to be supporting them in this, but this is continued search optimization work where Niall has been picking out high traffic pages that we can optimize, identifying blog posts that we can optimize or turn into evergreen topic pages. So this really has to do with optimizing the content that we already have, or that's our role in it. And then the second OKR is around for our editorial strategy. I made a note, this first one, launch work in progress. This is something we've been trying to get off the ground for a while now. We have the concept, the note here is actually for you, Michael, and actually Luke too, that in order to complete this, we actually need a pretty significant amount of support from digital experience and design. But on the editorial side, it's also taking a look at the posts, being more strategic about our calendar and the posts that we're putting out and the themes that we're covering. And it goes right into the second one, double down on technical content. We want to get much better at being able to identify the types of posts that are going to be our blockbuster posts, or like 10,000 views or more in the 60-day time period, and get more consistent at being able to publish those. And then we have the video marketing strategy. Here, our digital production handbook is pretty light right now, and they're going to be really focused on building that out, mostly with the goal for other people to be able to self-serve a lot more easily, find video contractors if they need, understand the process, and just know who to go to for what. The next one on here is a collaboration with Dan Gordon. We're going to redo the demo, the long form demo of our end-to-end platform. And the digital production team is going to be very involved in scripting that and designing what that looks like. And then this last one is a promise that we made to create a new video for the sales kickoff call. And then they've also asked for value driver videos, and we did some of these last year. So we're trying to figure out how we can just refresh these and create a process for refreshing them instead of creating net new videos every year, and also figure out how they can be repurposed. So it's the content is not just for an internal sales kickoff. I shouldn't say just, it's also important, but figuring out where else we can place those videos and get a lot more leverage out of them. And then this last one is in collaboration with Colin and the customer reference team. And essentially it's a case study 2.0 where we're going to be working on revamping the process for getting higher impact case studies, making sure that the writers can interview the customers, which isn't happening today, how we can sell that a little bit better, and then decoupling that from the actual content creation so that we can get a lot more content out of those references than we currently are today.
Okay, thank you so much, Erica. So same question that I asked Michael. Can you tell us about a couple things that you decided not to do in Q4? Just things that might have been popular, but just not the right time?
Yeah, so one of the things is the GitLab TV. We're trying to launch some sort of TV program. As you can see in our video marketing strategy, we have a lot of foundational work to do here. So we just didn't feel like we were at the point where we could really execute on that in a significant way. Another one in the editorial bucket was focusing on increasing partner traffic. So the PR team is already doing a really good job of placing articles and getting traffic back to us with links. So it just didn't seem like something that would be high impact enough for us to work on this time around. And then SmartLink also is not on here. It's something that I'm going to be hopefully handing off to the field marketing team, but the capacity of which we originally kind of thought we could help execute on the localization side, we're going to scale back a little bit.
Awesome, thank you. And the other question is just, can you speak a little to how, I think it's obvious to some and not others, how these choices will impact the web traffic, MQL, and conversion rates?
Yeah, so the content marketing strategy, the continued work, of course, with the topic and web article pages are all to capture organic search traffic. And then the awareness to conversion journeys is, okay, so now we're generating this traffic to the pages. How do we convert them to an MQL on a website with email marketing, etc.? So that's that one. And then editorial, same thing. The doubling down on technical content. This is the traffic. We want to figure out how to drive more traffic more consistently by publishing the right things. And not focusing so much on the things that don't drive a lot of traffic. And launching work in progress is hopefully going to give us a much better experience on our blog where we're able to actually keep people engaging with content longer hopefully find something that they can convert on as well. So we'll be working on that conversion path there. And then the video marketing strategy, the big one is going to be the demo. That is something that we currently put behind the gate. I don't know if we're going to continue to do that, but this is a big piece of content that contributes to our conversion strategy.
Great. Thank you so much. Anything else you want to say about your quarter that people should know if they're watching this video?
The only thing that, I'll point out, I guess, is with the content marketing strategy side, this is part of a huge cross-functional effort with strategic marketing and digital marketing. So what you just saw from the content marketing side is really just a small piece. And just overall, we're really figuring out how to work as a greater marketing team to work on these funnels.
That's great. Love it. Shane, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to go next. Let me share my screen. All right, great. Do you see Epic with OKR candidates? All right, cool. Becky's giving me the head nod. So I'm going to run with this. So let's see. Starting off, we have a candidate to increase about.gitlab.com site health to 85%. So right now, this is we measure this in SEMrush, and it just tells us how healthy the site is overall based on the number of errors and warnings that we're getting. So right now we're around 70%. We started this quarter, like I think it's 61, 62, like low 60s. So, we've increased about 10% over this quarter. I think, this also includes all of the website. So handbook, jobs pages. So it would require a lot of work from external teams external to this one. And then migrate about.gitlab.com to gitlab.com. This is one that I don't think we should do, but I just left it in because it was something that we got a question around earlier this month, I guess, maybe end of September. And so, I think there are lots of other smaller effort pieces of work that will return a higher level of value to the business. Instead of doing this, I think this is a great move to consider when we're, everything else is firing on all cylinders, and we just need like an extra push to get over the hill and be even more competitive when it comes to search. And I just don't know that we're not there yet. So not one I'm suggesting we pursue for Q4, but it's on this list. And then increase organic entrances to keyword topic pages by 40%. So we want to take the topics pages and then build out pages behind them. So topics / continuous - integration / I'm drawing a blank, like cloud build or some other long tail term goes behind that topic, that pillar page for the topic, and then it feeds back into the main topic. So you land on the site because you want to learn about something specific, and then we have CTAs, other items to draw you into the funnel at that point. So we want to increase the entrances to those topics pages by 40%. Reduce SEO errors in the handbook by 50%. This is a little bit more targeted site improvement so that we can work with teams to identify places in the handbook where we can improve the experience there. And then server-side tagging and Google Analytics. So right now we rely on cookie-based tracking for what we see in Google Analytics. This would move us from cookie-based to server-side tagging using Google Tag Manager. Google Tag Manager would collect HTTP events and then send them to a server that we control. And then we would send that information out from there to specific platforms so that we can measure ROI. So it'd be a big improvement on fidelity around analytics. And then the final one is migrate redirects to Sloth Cloud for Cloudflare. So our SEO agency Salt, they have a tool called Sloth Cloud, and it allows us to manage all kinds of SEO related items from the edge with Cloudflare. So we can go from having, just redirects being something we manage on our CDN to, redirects and lots of other rich SEO data so that we can, multiply the effort of our team, inbound marketing team, and be able to have an impact on more pages at a faster pace. So those are the OKR candidates we've got for this quarter. I see that some things came up in chat, so I don't know if those are questions for me, but I'm looking now.
Nope, we're just figuring out the next presenter. You can keep going.
Okay. That's pretty much what I have. I was going to go to your questions next, Danielle.
Cool. Yeah. So the first one is just, what are some things that you had to decide not to do? And maybe you also want to talk about the GitLab.com thing a little more at this part, since it sounds like that's something you're not going to want to do.
Yeah. That's one of the big ones for us that, we've considered and don't want to do. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of risk for a small potential amount of return. So we would rather spend our time focused on things that we know are lower risk, higher return. And that's why we, don't want to move that one forward. As far as other items that we considered that, we're not suggesting for quarter four. I think for us, there are a lot of other parts of the website where we could focus our optimization, but the topic section is really where, it fits the cluster strategy the closest, where we have pillar pages, supporting content that feed back into those to help us raise the organic exposure of all those pages. So instead of focusing on, use cases with solutions or other pages, we're going to focus on topics first to continue to prove this concept and help make sure that, we're focusing our attention to get the biggest return for our attention on these items.
I'd also say I think there's opportunity for mutual beneficial work with changing the domain to the potential change in static site generator. They might play nicely, and if we're going to move one, we could probably benefit from moving both.
Yeah, I mean, for me on that side of things, I think that once we have a site where we are confident we're covering all the low-level SEO things, then that's a move we can consider. But I think it's a lot of risk to move it before we have redirects and no 404s and like all the basic site health stuff that we're focused on. So yeah.
And then Shane, I know it might seem super obvious, but can you just talk a little bit about how these choices will impact traffic, MQLs, and conversion?
Yeah, sure. So, I think the best thing to look at is the improvements we made over the last quarter. We went from, almost 2,000 errors on the website to just over 200. And we're seeing across the board, our rankings are improving by like 2 or 3 spots, right, for keywords that we're tracking. So we're seeing a lot of improvement just in focusing on this over the last quarter. So I think continue to focus on this and then expand our approach is only going to help us to continue to make those incremental improvements in search so that we're continuing to gain ground and exposure in that area. Oh, and that all feeds back to, MQLs and inquiries and all those things.
Anything else you want to say about your quarter before we hand it off to Luke?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think we have some really exciting things on the table here. I will say, I think that, one of the constraints we're looking at is, there are some requirements when we look at these OKRs. There are a lot of requirements that have external requirements. So, like infrastructure, migrating our CDN from Fastly to Cloudflare is a key one. Getting other teams excited about keeping their handbook, up to date and well maintained from an SEO perspective. So I think that's the biggest risk as we look at this. But I think as long as we can help prioritize that with those teams, I'm not concerned about us being able to hit those goals.
Awesome. All right, Luke.
All right, we're just doing like an overview. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Thanks for bearing with me today. Let's see here.
Oh, you're great.
And both kids are here, so it might get a little crazy. Let's see. Awesome. So I think similar to Michael, have just kind of a working doc. Okay, shh, just a minute. So these will eventually get put into an epic. I think there's just kind of some confusion about cross collaboration there. So anyway, I guess I'll start with kind of how I approach this exercise. Danielle had a great idea to like basically poll the team on like what they want to work on, what they don't want to work on. So as you look at the doc, you can kind of see sort of the evolution of that, and that these are kind of the top 6 from each. And then this is kind of the work on, not work on exercise. So kind of goes back to the team building thing, like, you know, have everyone invested in what we're working on from a team and individual perspective. So there's that, but basically kind of landed on 3 themes. So the first one being brand framework. I think it's always been in the back of my mind. We just haven't had the resources or the capacity to act on it. And I think now that we're at the scale that we are, we're maybe a little bit behind the curve on that. So hoping to really make a lot of progress there and kind of really build a foundation for the brand as we work towards, you know, eventually becoming a public company, and obviously our growth, you know, putting a consistent brand forward, regardless of kind of who initiates what. So these 4 here are just kind of like based on everyone's kind of what they want to work on. These are kind of areas we'd like to dip into. So this might seem like a lot because this was kind of initially the Q4 candidates. And then we took it a level up to these 3 themes. So really just kind of laying a foundation for the brand guidelines, obviously, as we bring on more vendors and contractors, agencies. Those are super valuable to make sure that, you know, I think that's kind of one of our faults now, is that there's such a learning curve to our brand, just because a lot of it is kind of in the minds of a lot of individuals and not so much documented. So there's a lot of kind of reworking that happens because we don't have proper onboarding there. And then visual language will obviously continue to grow and evolve there. And then I think sort of this brand team roles and workflow kind of came through in the exercise with the team, and that really defining like an identity for ourselves. And I think, I forget who mentioned it, but some people think all we do is like Tanuki logos and stickers and swag, which is awesome. We love doing that stuff, but there's so much more that we can do too. So basically taking the initiative ourselves to really define our roles and workflow and make it obvious to others what we can offer. So that's a lot. We'll see kind of like what we're able to tackle from that perspective. And then the next 2 are somewhat similar in that we're basically providing support to other teams. So the first one is website. That's obviously a big initiative. So I think one thing that's I've discussed with a lot of individuals is that we kind of know the what about GitLab and kind of the why is missing. So really excited to dig into kind of the brand experience, sort of that storytelling aspect. And then I think sort of, you know, these 3 that follow really kind of inform that. So that'd be really great work. And then, you know, hopefully we can get to the point where, you know, in the context of the website, you know, we don't have words and pictures kind of saying the same thing. They'll end up complementing each other. So we're telling like a more holistic story, having a more holistic experience there. And then the third one is kind of corporate marketing based. So providing them support around events, both sponsored and ones that we put on, such as Commit and Contribute. Obviously, we have a big kind of play in those, so we want to make those individuals feel really supported, and that's a large amount of our work. So why not incorporate those into our goals, and then we can sort of, based on the website work and the brand framework work, we can kind of bleed that stuff into what we do for them as well. So covers a lot of things, and I think there's a lot of opportunity, like with email. You know, Newt's done a lot of really awesome work, but I'm sure there's emails that haven't been touched since I started way back in 2016. So I think it's a little overdue for us to really have some attention there. And then the all remote brand is obviously taking off. So I think we should, you know, take advantage of that from a brand perspective. So that's a lot, but
Thank you.
it's somewhat clear, maybe.
What were a few of the things that you had to cut from Q4 that you had hoped to get to do, but just couldn't make it onto this quarter's list?
Yeah, so I think Matt had some really good ideas around, I think he called them like campaigns for like the website and content and that kind of thing. Basically carving out time to really dig into research, analyzing what others are doing, and then kind of putting together larger concepts around bigger campaigns that we could run. I just think sort of in the order of things, we kind of need to focus on the brand framework and getting things in line there before we kind of deep dive into some really big strategy work that, you know, involves a lot more than just our team.
Makes sense. And can you speak a little bit to the ways that working on these things and the choices that you've made impact web traffic, MQLs, and conversion rates?
Sure. So I think probably the biggest kind of talking, or the biggest theme kind of talking really high level, you know, obviously consistency is a good thing when it comes to brand. You want to build trust and you don't want to erode it. So I think while it's kind of design is really subjective and it's hard to tie numbers or metrics to it, I think, you know, really coming forward with a consistent message, consistent experience from the brand perspective, whether it's visuals, copy, tone of voice, all those things, you know, the more consistent we can be to our audiences, the better, you know, because they can, I think we try to work towards it in that, you know, somebody sees a banner ad that kind of has one design, they visit a booth that maybe has a different design, then somehow they end up at a landing page that has a completely different design. So like trying to streamline kind of that experience and, you know, maybe feeling it less sort of haphazard with that intention and just building trust. That way that hopefully, you know, leads to more MQLs and traffic and all of that good stuff.
Awesome. Well, I think that covers the questions. Anything else you want to share about your upcoming quarter, things you're thinking about, things that people watching this video should know?
Yeah, I mean, I think while there's a lot kind of focused around brand and sort of the work that we're doing, you know, I think others, like Becky mentioned earlier, like demand gen, field marketing, like I feel like they can be incorporated into this as well. Like I don't necessarily want to say this is an end all be all. Like I think brand obviously has a lot of different touch points. So definitely encourage others to reach out, and brand is a really big thing. So it's not just us defining it, it's, you know, content marketing, demand gen, all of those different areas.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, last but not least, Becky's going to speak a little bit to our process, including if you did want to reach out, if you watched this video and something was missing, how you could do that. So Becky, you want to take over?
Sure. So I would, let's see. Today is not one of my good thinking days, unfortunately, but I'll do my best on here. So one of the things that I just wanted to call out that this is the stuff that Michael didn't have in there, is that there are a few things that we have on here. It's a candidate because of resource allocation and kind of the time that we spent doing these things in our initial Q3 plans, where we realized how long everything takes. So the phase 4, which was continued through, was that we had said we would update 10 web pages. So for that, we are behind schedule for Q3, but there's a lot there. And we've done mini updates on a lot of different things. There's a lot of dependencies. For example, we had planned that we were going to do a pricing page update. However, now with everything going on with the pricing and the tiers, all of that stuff, it just has to get pushed off. It's not feasible to do an update on that while everything's so in flux. The enterprise page, we are like really chugging along on that. Very proud of that. I think that's a great example of, you know, the ideal way we should work forward on these things. We also didn't have to fix anything. The other things in phase 3 to consider is that we said that we would work on the site nav, the site map, and dry elements. So on those things, I've been kind of keeping track of them. The site elements end up getting mixed in with the design system. But for the dry elements, it's been, hey, let's try to make sure if we say try GitLab free, it's try GitLab free. It's all the same casing. It's all the same wording. It's not everywhere else. And then phase 5 was the CMS integration, which so that's already down. I just added this onto your thing, Michael. So for these, the idea is, I mean, in general, is increase SEO just by making sure we touch those pages, that the copy, the messaging, the content on them is updated, and to continue the, you know, the journey that people have to make it make more sense. And then next steps for this, kind of where we're going to be going, is looking at all of these candidates, looking at how we're supposed to support each other on them and the functional needs that we have. And if somebody wants to suggest something new, I would suggest putting in an issue, filling out the information, and then we can put that as a candidate either on Q4, we can put it there, but I really would like it if everybody, I mentioned this to Michael in the Word doc, that you have, if somebody feels really passionately about something, but it's not something that we can fit in because of time or because there's a lot of dependencies or just in general, the strategy doesn't line up at this time, just put it as a candidate for Q1 2020, fiscal year 21, and then it will be logged for us to check out next time. So I think that's the best way to do it. And yeah, I'll put a label on it and we'll go from there. Is that all the information you needed, Danielle? Is there anything else?
I think the only other thing I'd love to have you speak about briefly, so we're definitely going to continue to have cross-functional support requests just come up through the quarter, I'm sure. And I know you already have a pretty good process for handling that, but just since people have watched this far and might have things that they're like, I don't know if I'm going to need you, but what if I need you in January? Can you just talk about our issuable templates and the tagging system that we use to keep track of that stuff?
Sure. So there's a few things that we can do. In the Growth Marketing Handbook, we have this request support section. Where did it go? There it is. And each of these has a template in it for you to fill out. And within the template, it has tags for it to go in our triage process. And it asks a lot of questions. And I know that they're kind of overwhelming sometimes, but most of those things are the things that we would ask you in the issue later. So the idea is for it to be all in the description and not have to just be somewhere else in the comments. So if you could please fill out one of these issue templates, it will come to us. We see it, we go through it. There's a lot of things that go into the triage process, including making sure all the information is there, checking to make sure that it lines up with another project. I mean, some things you might see us do is we might say like, cool, we actually have this as a candidate for next quarter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to associate it with that epic so that we can look at it later. Another thing that I think we should do is we should just reach out and ask people what their plans are so that we can get an idea of what we would need to support, and we can, you know, block time for that. I think a good example is the events team. We know that they're going to have commits on these dates. So for us, we block our time. We put it on there. We're like, cool, we're going to need to support this. We still want all those issues submitted, but we know ahead of time that that's something that we're going to need to put a certain amount of time on. And then the other thing is that I think for us, we can then take that ask, and I think we should write up maybe a support issue that we put within our OKR candidate. So we say, hey, we have reached out, here's the support issue where we've asked what, you know, possibly could happen. And we can reference that as, you know, throughout the year. I'm also doing little things like in Slack, I'm putting reminders like, you know, hey, Luke, team, remember that, you know, the holidays are coming up. So we're probably going to get an ask from corporate marketing for that stuff. Even if they haven't asked, just know that it's probably coming down the pipeline. So yeah, that's it.
Becky, could you show the, you know, in the issues view, I think you have an MG-support tag. I think it might just be helpful for everybody to see like just the amount that's in there total, including how much of that is now closed out just since you started that. So I think if you go to the high level marketing project, maybe, because I know there's a bunch of stuff in other people's projects too.
Okay, so we'll go up.
Go all the way up.
So here, Label equals. So we started doing this MG support label probably 3.5 months ago. There it is. And so what this does is anytime you put in an issue template, we consider it a request or a brief. And then we break that down into an epic with, if it needs to, an epic with sub issues. Because a lot of the time, what your request is requires a lot of work from a lot of different team members. So if you look at our issues that we have, so starting maybe 3.5 months ago, we have a total of 497 issues that were considered us supporting other teams. So this label does not go on issues that we start ourselves. So that's kind of a good way for you to, like if it's things like it's a to-do of some sort, we try not to put it on there. It's not perfect, but we have 122 and we have closed 375 of them in a very short amount of time. So I think we're really chugging through those, and we'll have a better list, I think, at the end of the quarter of what we've managed to close out for everybody.
Wow, that's really amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Becky. Well, we are amazingly on schedule. I am like so blown away. This was a great overview. I just want to thank you all for taking the time to work with your teams bottom up, to get their input, to write the epics, to get organized, to think about the themes. I want to make sure we, are clear. This is not the plan of record yet, because we are probably going to discover through writing the underlying work items that there's, scope and other reasons why not everything that's shown here today will make sense for Q4. And also maybe some new things will come online. So it's certainly not final, but I think we have a really strong set of candidates. And I'm confident enough thought has gone into it that if we needed to start the quarter tomorrow, we would be fine, which is an awesome place to be 3 weeks before the quarter. So next week, my hope is we will get to a plan of record by the end of the week. We will have the CMO staff offsite early in the week, and I'll share what I've learned here with them and get their input as well. So hopefully we will come into the quarter with everyone already knowing what they're going to be working on. So yeah, I think Shane, you can probably go ahead and stop the recording here.